Welcome to another episode of the Taking the Lead Media podcast, broadcasting from the island of Oahu. My name is Onofre, and welcome to episode 149. That track you heard is Friendly Advice. The band is Hangnail. That song comes off of their live album that was released through Indie Music in 2016. And that live set was actually recorded back in 2002, in their hometown of Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's a mix of tracks coming off of Facing Changes, their self-titled, and one off of their last album, Transparent. Was a big fan of Hangnail, still am. My introduction to Hangnail was with their album Facing Changes. Back in high school, a buddy was, street teaming for Tooth and Nail, promoting the band, and told me to pick up the album when it came out. I did. I dug it, but it wasn't a sound that I was fully into. I got to hear some of their earlier stuff from their first album, and that's the stuff I loved. I also heard the acoustic EP, and it took some time to break into Facing Changes, but I eventually did. I loved the band after that, and I don't know how many of you out there subscribe to the band's newsletter, but I also remember the one letter that announced the breakup of Hangnail, and I remember it was a lengthy email too. And it talked about band members' side projects, the upcoming Transparent album. It wasn't even released yet, and the band was breaking up. And it was a bummer of news to hear. Later that same year, Acceptance released their EP, Black Lines to Battlefields, and Nick played drums in that band. So I was happy to hear that Indie was releasing these live tracks from Hangnail, even after 14 years after their initial breakup. And it's nice to hear that there was still music to be released from the band. And it's cool to know that other people still care about this band and still listen to this band. There's a longevity in their music and message. Check out the live album on Bandcamp. It's 19 tracks through Indie Music. Up next is a track from Light the Way, a pop-punk trio from California. They released a new EP back in July of last year titled Dad Gang. And it's 5 songs of really excellent pop-punk. Very catchy. Love the energy. If you want to check out episode 94, I played a track from their Dude Lame EP. Or you can just check out their Bandcamp, lightthewayca.bandcamp.com. It was in 2017 I first heard about this band. Indie was releasing quite a bit of stuff that year. I mean, as always, it's a very active label, music site. But that year, you got Light the Way. The remastered Penny Lane was released on tape. There was new music from At the Wayside, Mainframe, and Available at the Counter. A good year for punk and rock pop. Also, the Family and Friends compilation came out that year, which was exciting because it opened up with some new Craig's Brother. Yeah, 2017 was a good year. So I'll be playing the track titled Hope. I love this song. It's so uplifting and positive, and that's the way music should be. And I think we can all use some positivity in our lives right now. The EP is Dad Gang, and this is Light the Way.
I know I would again. I fell short of perfection, getting tired of this daily routine, begging you to forgive me. I'm not good enough, I could never ever be. It makes zero sense why you love me. I'm a security threat, yeah, I'm a bad man. I never believe I can still love me. I hate the feeling of being dead. Feels like I'm dragging my own casket. Filled to the brim with every cent of a dime. Shackled to my ankle under the California sun. You break apart the chains that bind. You take the scales from over my eyes. Your grace, my only claim to eternal life. Your name on my blade till the day that I die. I'm not good enough, I could never ever be. It makes zero sense why you love me. I'm a security threat, yeah, I'm a bad man. I never believe I can still love me. Slow learning, well deserving. Your love crosses the bridges that are burning. We jump right in to my coffin. The 6 feet can't keep your love from getting in. Your promises won't come up empty. They'll always ring true. Your promises won't come up empty. can never ever be. It makes zero sense why you love me. I'm a security threat, yeah, I'm a bad a liability, but you still love me.
For those that don't know, Indie Vision Music is a music website. It was founded by Brandon Jones in 2000, and its focus is on independent Christian music. The site provides news, they release compilations, and they serve as a label home for some bands. So I first heard about Indie Vision because a buddy of mine had his band's EP released to them, and that was probably in 2004, 2005. And I found it was a good place too for news on bands in the Christian music scene. I use that term loosely. Like for me, when I hear that term, a particular list of bands come to mind. Although some of those bands may or may not associate with that term. I could care less if you do or not. But let me tell you, there's a lot of dope bands that come to mind. A lot. And other than Indie Vision, I only had like Tooth and Nail to look forward to, Solid State, Beck Recordings, or BEC, however it's pronounced. And I also learned about Face Down Records, Strike First, and Blood and Ink like afterwards. But because of Indie Vision, I was introduced to a lot of new bands. Next in Line, Dark Room, Quick and the Dead, Root Down, Fairgreen. And this was mostly due to their compilations that they would release. And these comps were huge. As digital downloads, they came with a lot of tracks. So one of these comps in particular, I'm Your Biggest Fan Volume 2, that had a great list of songs, and it was compiled by Brandon Jones and released through Tooth and Nail. And Tooth and Nail had a lot of different comps. There was the songs from the Penalty Box series, Cheapskates, The Nail, from what I picked up anyway. I'm sure there's tons of others. But I'm Your Biggest Fan introduced me to bands like Name Taken, Slow Coming Day, Too Bad Eugene, just to name a few. But I'll be playing the track from Makeshift 3. Absolutely love these guys. I actually saw them almost by accident. They played once during my time in Oregon during college. They played at the university cafeteria. And from what I can remember, there was a couple local bands that played that night. One called Drive By, a band from Boise called Down by One. And they'd go on to change their name to Bridging States with their sound change. So they went from a punk sound to more of a rock sound, I guess. And another band, I think Martyr Reef may have played there too. And Makeshift 3. Watching them was pretty dope because they sounded a lot better live than anything off of their albums. Like they had 2 albums at the time, and this was during the mp3.com days. They had Fuel for Life and Game Day on there. Both good stuff, but their live show was definitely far superior. And it was actually the first time I ever heard a band introduce themselves as a Christian band. So I was pretty naive back then. I'm from Hawaii, going to a small university in middle of nowhere, Oregon. I guess I didn't go to enough shows at that point to know that was like a thing. But Makeshift 3 didn't do anything more than that. They just said they're a Christian band, and if you wanted to chat about anything, they'll be around to talk after their set. And then they rocked the house after that. They were definitely the highlight of the show for sure. They go on to sign with New School Records and release their last album, Fluorescent Black, which features an upgraded version of the next track I'm about to play. The song is called Hiyada Martian 3, and this is off I'm Your Biggest Fan Volume 2. This is Makeshift 3.
Although we hate the rules, I think it's time they're broken. won't take anything for granted with you. From here on out, I swear I'll be accountable. I won't take anything for granted with you.
All right, that was Heart Like War with the track From Here On Out for their 6-song EP, Thoughts on This. And it was released towards the end of last year. They're a 3-piece based in Los Angeles. This EP is their first through Indie Vision, and looks like they did some work with Thumper Punk Records as well. They've been around since 2009, have a couple EPs and an album worth of material, and it's nice catchy pop punk. I like it a lot. Listen to more of their tunes on their website, heartlikewar.com. Alright, so before I get to the last track, some social media drops. Be sure to check out this podcast website, takingtheleadmedia.com. Check out the site for past episodes, links to respective bands on today's episode, timestamps, and the occasional album review. I've actually been posting more reviews on the site, more than usual, so please do check it out. The podcast is also on YouTube, search Taking the Lead Media, and on Tumblr at oneshotsideshow.tumblr.com. I also do have the One Shot Sideshow mini episodes featuring just one track. I'll be releasing those weekly as well, so be on the lookout for that. And you'll get them too if you're already subscribed to this podcast. Do check out the podcast on iTunes if you haven't already, and hit that subscribe button too. If you got time to spare, please do leave a review and star rating for the show. Help the podcast climb the charts and suggest any improvements with the show. Do recommend the show to a friend. They may just find their new favorite band on a future episode. And hit me up on Twitter at TTLM Podcast. Love the interactions on there. Please send love, hate, comments, questions, music submissions, recommendations, and any other general correspondence to my email, takingtheleadmedia@gmail.com. All right, so closing this episode is a track from Craig's Brother. The band released their long-awaited EP, Devils in the Details, last year. And it was quite the wait. The last thing the band released was, I think, back in 2011, The Insidious Lie, that album. And part of the delay was due to funding for the EP. The band initially went through the crowdfunding route, and after a failed campaign on Kickstarter, they just took their funding through their website. And it was well worth the wait for sure. They released a great quality EP, 5 songs of melodic punk and punk pop. Since the release of the EP, Ted Vaughn made a lot of appearances on a number of podcasts, gave some insight into the songs of the EP. In one interview, he went into his views and perceptions of the whole Christian music scene and Christian band label. And some tooth and nail stuff. I'm sure if you do a search, you'll find some of those podcasts. The EP itself is awesome. It opens with a track Ted Vaughn wrote for his daughter called Follow Your Heart. I think originally it was titled Maylene's Song. And Ted Vaughn did release an early demo of this. He would keep people updated to whoever donated on the band's website. And there's also a track titled Harry vs. Mount St. Helens. And it's about a man named Harry R. Truman, who actually lived near an active volcano, Mount St. Helens. And he refused to leave his home, which was near the active volcano, despite evacuation orders. So he was presumed dead and to have been killed by the lava flow that overtook his home in 1980. And the song plays like a folk punk surf rock style, complete with a thick walking bass line and clean guitars. The rest of the EP have some tech punk in it, very melodic and catchy melodies and choruses, all in Craig's Brother fashion. And I wouldn't say typical, but I've come to anticipate from Craig's Brother each time something new comes out from them, progression and maturity in their songwriting and sound. And they do exactly that with this EP. Indie Vision released the EP on CD and cassette tape formats, and of course digital too. And vinyl was released earlier this year through People of Punk Rock Records. Solid white vinyl with some minor differences in the cover art. It's dope looking. The song I'll be playing is the EP's opener, Follow Your Heart. The EP is Devils in the Details, and this is Craig's Brother. And be sure to check out Indie Vision Music, indievisionmusic.com, and they're also on Bandcamp. They got a lot of stuff on Bandcamp. And they'll also be releasing some new stuff too from Slow Coming Day and Names Without Numbers. So be on the lookout for that. My name is Onofre, and I'll be signing off until the next Taking the Lead Media podcast. And one more thing, I hope everyone is doing their best to get through this global event and doing their part to stay safe and healthy Do your best to try and spread some positivity and support, as some people may be struggling more than others. It's definitely some trying times, and I think we can all try our best to be kind to one another. Thanks for listening.